All right, everybody, let's get into Brush Street Beat presented by McLaren Health Care. Our guest today is Detroit sports writer for the Detroit News, Chris McCosky. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're excited, and we're also excited that this week the Tigers are reporting for spring training 2.0, we'll call it. What was your reaction to the 60-man roster, or 58 in this case, that they released?
Right. Not too many surprises. I think, there were a couple guys that were at the original camp who didn't come across. One specifically was Troy Stokes Jr., an outfielder who was on the 40-man roster, and I feel like he's going to be the one that's going to get cut off the roster to make room for Michael Fulmer, who's healthy. So that was a little bit of a surprise, but then having Michael Fulmer healthy is a nice bonus to take into this camp. So other than that, no, I was glad to see that couple of draft picks are on there. Spencer Torkelson, when he signs, will be on there, and the catcher Dingler will also be on there. And the prospects we always expected were going to be there, the top pitching prospects.
Well, one guy that was on there that I assume would be is Riley Green. I can remember I keep telling this story over and over, but last year, he was slated to go fifth. The Tigers drafted him fifth overall. But the more I read about him, Chris, I couldn't believe that he didn't go first overall. Could he be that one player that the Tigers catch a break on? I mean, I know he's only in high school, he's a teenager, but he certainly seems like a guy that could make it fast.
Yeah, but I don't think you would consider a guy you take fifth overall like catching lightning in a bottle. They expect him to be a really good player. And when he came to Comerica last year and was sitting him off the Pepsi porch in front of Miguel Cabrera, this kid's got some talent. He was arguably one of the best hitters in camp this spring too when he got called over. So yeah, he's a high school kid. That's probably why he waited. It took that long to take him at fifth, which is not that long. But Spencer Torkelson is that guy too. Spencer Torkelson's probably going to get there quicker because he's older, obviously, and he's more polished as a hitter. But both of those guys, for years you heard the Tigers collecting pitchers and drafting pitchers, and their pitching prospects were way up there. Where's the hitters? Well, they got a couple of hitters in the soup right now that are probably going to be really dynamic players.
So you touch on Torkelson, Riley Green, and the young pitching staff, which includes Casey Mize, Matt Manning, Tarek Skubal. Which of these guys do you think we may see in this shortened baseball season?
That's a good question. I know that Al has talked about if this was a regular season, those guys would have played most of the year at Toledo. And then in September or maybe late August, they were probably going to get a look, two or three of them. And I think that's the same. It'll depend on performance. It'll depend on health. But Mize is obviously a candidate. Alex Faedo, I think, is a candidate. He's a little bit older. And Manning is just good. I mean, Manning's really good. And so is Tarek. So it could be any one of those guys. I don't think it'll be all four, just because that's pressing your odds a little bit that all four would, but two of them for sure, and maybe three.
Chris, the assumption is in this 60-game schedule that pitching's going to be ahead of hitting. And if you look at the Tigers' even starting staff now, they're pretty formidable. Obviously Boyd and Zimmerman, if he can stay healthy, and Daniel Norris. He could, maybe he blossoms into the guy that they thought they were getting when they traded for him. I mean, he was the guy in that deal. It wasn't Matthew Boyd, but right. it was Norris and Nova, and we can go on, Spencer Turnbull, whom I actually love. But the real intriguing thing is, if Michael Fulmer comes back healthy, what dimension does that add to an already pretty deep pitching staff?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the question. I think last year kind of was a precursor. When they used Daniel Norris and Drew Verhagen, Norhagen, we called them. They were doing piggyback starts. I think early on you're going to see a lot of piggyback starts because the arms they're not going to be stretched out. Besides Matthew Boyd, who probably can go 7-8 innings right now, the other guys would probably do some piggyback starts, and there's going to be room for six. And Tyler Alexander's also in the mix for a starter swingman. Right. So there's a couple guys you can piggyback with early on, and I think if Michael is healthy, Michael's got a couple more hurdles to get over, though. He's got to field his position. He's got to get back into some kind of game shape. Been out since 2018, remember. So it's going to take him a minute to get some of that rust off him. But eventually he will be in that mix. And is he a long guy in the bullpen at first? Again, it depends on health and performance of the other guys and him.
Some of the rules that we'll be seeing in the 60-game schedule, I know the designated hitter is going to be universal, shall we say. Both leagues are going to finally have it. And, having a guy on second base to start extra innings. I mean, are you looking forward to some of these things that we really haven't seen, especially, the guy on second?
Well, you know I'm an old dude, right? So yeah, I'm not real thrilled with starting an inning with a guy at second base. I get why they're doing it. Obviously, you don't want 16, 17, 18 inning games now with everything being so condensed. That would kill your pitching staff. I get that. I hate it. I hope it's a one. I hope we never see it again after this year. I've been a long time proponent of universal DH. I don't need to ever see another. God bless Bartolo Colon and some of those guys. Daniel Norris, he's going to hate me because he can hit, but I don't need to see a pitcher hit anymore ever in the rest of my life. So welcome DH. National League, you're going to love it when you get to know it, for sure.
I know that CBA is going to be coming back up, I think, at the end of next season. And so
Right.
I know time served is supposed to be a big thing. And I kind of look at time served like we don't even know what the rule's going to be in a year and a half. So, take time served.
Like a prison sentence.
Right. Well, right, but it's baseball,
time.
Right. Service time. Chris, you knew what I was talking about. But the thing that I'm really kind of curious about is this taxi squad. You got 20 guys. Just what are they doing in Toledo? I mean, are they playing? Are they playing against each other? I mean, how viable is a taxi squad?
What's our favorite word? Inter squad, right? When you're playing inter squad games until they can't stand each other. There's going to be riots at Fifth Third Field because these guys are going to be so sick of playing against each other. There's going to be on the field melees. But that's all they can do. I mean, they have to. I don't think there's anything set up for them to play other taxi squads. That may change. I don't know. I'm not aware of it. So if there's any, so it's going to be. They're just going to play a schedule of inter squad games. They'll mix the rosters up the best they can with 20 guys. But it's not ideal again, but it's better than them sitting out until the fall, especially for the younger guys. At least they're going to play baseball for 3 months against major league players.
Do you envision this happening? Let's say that, Manning's tearing it up in inter squad games. Do the Tigers think, let's give him a shot here in Detroit? I mean, I guess they're just doing it so they have a place to play, like you said. But I don't think what they're doing against each other should not have an impact of whether they're going to call them up to Detroit, I would imagine.
No, it's not. That's not so much on the results. You know what I mean? It's not results like, Isaac Paradis went 2 for 21 against Mize, Manning, Scoob. A lot of guys are going to go 2 for 21 against those guys in inter squad games. So that's not it. It's how they're getting their work, and the older guys need to be ready to play if there's an injury. Those guys are going to legit. There's guys down there that are legit. They're going to help him. Nick Ramirez, if he doesn't make the team coming out, Hector Santiago, guys like that who they're going to count on to play. Even Jake Rogers, maybe if some catchers get hurt, will be a factor. So those guys have a job to do. They have to stay ready. And how they evaluate and assess what they're doing down there, I don't think that the results matter as much as how they're looking to the development people and the coaches down there.
Chris, we talk about the young players a lot, but let's talk about a guy like Miguel Cabrera, who everybody said spring training 1.0, he looked like he was in the best shape that he's been in a long time. How crucial will that be for the Tigers' potential success in this season?
Oh, always. A healthy Miggy is a difference maker. We know that. That's a Hall of Fame, one of the best hitters of his generation for sure. And by all accounts, he sent out a Instagram of him taking BP not that long ago, and he looked the same, still skinny Miggy. And Al talked about him the other day, said that he hasn't missed a beat during this quarantine. Said he's still in good shape. He's taking care of himself, taking care of his diet. But I always caution that Miguel Cabrera's knee is not healed. He's got a chronic condition in his right knee. And the fact that he lost the weight is enabling him to play more like himself because obviously less weight, less pressure, blah, blah, blah. I'm a doctor. I know these things. But he's not healed. That knee could go. It's still chronically injured. So that's always a kind of a nervous thing about Miggy, but he's doing everything he can to be productive in his final years of his contract, for sure.
Chris, one of the questions that I always get based on what the Tigers have done recently, the last 2 drafts, drafting positional players, how crucial of a year is this for Candelario, maybe even Paredes? These were guys that we've heard about. I mean, Candelario is a mystery to me. I think he should be good. And I'm not saying he's bad, but I mean, is this
No.
make or break? Are some of these guys reaching the the edge of the
Yes.
cliff, so to speak?
Yeah, and you know what? It's kind of funny that I've probably written this as a make or break year for Jamer 2 years, at least 2 years in a row, because he's been like he came to camp knowing that he had to beat out Dawa Lugo. Neither of them have minor league options left, so when they came to camp, it was do or die for one of those two, and neither of them for the longest time seized the position. It was like, wow, does nobody want it? It's like everybody's taking a step back. Toward the end, Jamer started looking more like himself, and he was swinging the bat better. He's had a wrist problem too. That's kind of he's not been the same since he broke a small bone in his wrist, and I think he's getting back to himself. But Spencer Torkelson was drafted as a third baseman. Isaac Paredes is one of the top hitting prospects in the system right now, is a third baseman. So if Jamer and Dawa Lugo don't see the clock ticking, then they're not paying attention, because it is ticking. And this could be it's hard to say with a 60 that how much will this 60 games depend or determine their future. That's tough to say, but the clock's ticking for sure. He's 27. Jamer's 27, right? 20, about to be 27.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Chris, we appreciate you joining us today. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Great talking to you, though. We're hoping that baseball season is underway soon enough. Thank you to McLaren Health Care for presenting Brush Street Beat this week and every week right here on the Word on Woodward.